There are many Christians who say, right now I'm not good enough for Jesus. Although I live for myself and for this world to have fun, but after Jesus returns and after the rapture happens, I will dedicate myself to Jesus in the Great Tribulation. And then at that time I will be saved. But what I like to tell you is that after the rapture, there is no salvation. So in the internet, there are a lot of teachers who say there is no Bible verses that say there is no salvation after the return of Jesus or the rapture. But what I like to tell you is that the Bible is filled with verses that say there is no salvation after Jesus' return and the rapture. So I'm going to show you a few verses. So this is Matthew chapter 24, 48. But if that evil servant says in his heart, my master is delaying his coming, and begins to beat his fellow servants, and to eat and drink with the drunkards, the master of that servant will come on a day when he is not looking for him, and at an hour that he is not aware of, and will cut him in two, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So this verse is saying about Jesus' return. So he says the master will come at an hour he is not aware of, and he will suddenly return, and then he will cut him in two and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. So does it sound like there is salvation after Jesus' return? So this is saying when Jesus returns, he will cut him in two. That's like a terrible fate, and his portion with the hypocrites. So where do the hypocrites go? That's hell. So his portion will be with the hypocrites in hell, and there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So in hell there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth because of terrible pain. So this verse is saying there is no salvation after Jesus' return. And this is another verse, Matthew chapter 25 verse 10. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the wedding, and the door was shut. Afterward the other virgins came also, saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. But he answered and said, Assuredly I say to you, I do not know you. Watch therefore, for you know neither day nor the hour in which the Son of Man is coming. So this is the verse about the parable of 10 virgins. So it says the 5 foolish virgins missed the day of rapture, and after Jesus returns, the door is shut. That means the door of salvation is shut, and they say, open to us. But Jesus is saying, I do not know you. So often Jesus will say to those who are not saved, he doesn't know them. So that means they are not saved. So this verse is saying when Jesus returns, then door is shut, and those who are left behind will not be saved. And Jesus will say to them, I do not know you. So there's another verse about that. This is Matthew chapter 7 verse 23. And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. So it says here, Jesus is saying, I never knew you. Depart from me. So it means just like the parable of 10 virgins, he's saying, I do not know you. So depart from me. That means you're not saved. So those who are saved will be with Jesus forever. But those who are not saved, Jesus will say to them, I do not know you. So be gone, depart from me. And he will be thrown into hell. So this verse is clearly supporting that parable of 10 virgins. And it says, there's no salvation after Jesus' return and the rapture. Finally, this is another verse, Matthew chapter 25, verse 14. For the kingdom of heaven is like a man traveling to a far country who called his own servants and delivered his goods to them, and cast the unprofitable servant into the outer darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So this is the story about the talents, and the master gave talents to his servants. But whoever did not do anything with the talents, then he says, cast the unprofitable servant into the outer darkness. So outer darkness is hell. So there is no light in hell. And there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So in hell, there will be a lot of weeping and gnashing of teeth because of terrible pain. And there are a lot of teachers who say, especially those who believe in pre-tribulation rapture, they say the outer darkness is the great tribulation. But actually, in the great tribulation, those who refuse the Antichrist, for them it will be a terrible time of persecution and torture. But those who go along with the Antichrist and bow down to him, then they will have like a time of their lives. And this earth will be so prosperous because it will be one nation in the world, and all the money will be combined into one currency. And because of that, there will be so much prosperity in this world. And the war will disappear, and hunger will disappear. So this earth will be like an utopia. So it's not a darkness in the Great Tribulation. Like those who go along with the Antichrist, for them it will be a utopia. So this outer darkness is not Great Tribulation. It's hell. There is no light in there. So these verses are clearly saying, after Jesus returns, at an hour nobody knows, he will suddenly return in the sky, and there will be a rapture. And then after that, these verses are saying there is no salvation. So for those who are hesitating to follow Jesus and dedicate their lives to Jesus, there is a great danger, because they're hesitating, and then suddenly they will be trapped in the Great Tribulation. And at that time, it will be so much harder to dedicate to Jesus, because even now there is no restriction. They find it very hard to decide to follow Jesus. But in the Great Tribulation, it will be much harder, because at that time you will face terrible torture. So why do you think that dedicating your life to Jesus will be any easier? In fact, it will be much harder to start following Jesus in the Great Tribulation. It will be like 1,000 times harder than now, when there is no restriction. So there is a great danger who are hesitating, because suddenly they will find themselves in the Great Tribulation, and at the time it will be much harder to be saved because of terrible torture. So to those who are thinking they want to dedicate their lives after Jesus returns and after the rapture, I'd like to really urge you to dedicate yourself now, when it's much easier. And there is a danger if you put it off. And suddenly, when Jesus returns, then it will be finished. And after Jesus' return, there will be no more chance to be saved. So I hope you clearly understand that there is no salvation after the rapture. And the Bible is clearly saying that fact. I wish you blessings from the Lord.